Now, your question here is related to speaking specifically and oral fluency. PTE is very sneaky. For somebody to get 90 out of 90 in speaking, even though the pronunciation is only 40, well, the answer lies in oral fluency. You're not speaking to a human being. You're speaking to a computer. Generally, for described image, there's some information that's very important and other information that's less important. Changing a few keywords. Repeating again and again and again, changing a few keywords. And it makes it very easy because you don't need to think. Hey there, welcome to this video. My name is Alex. So if you're watching this video, you're probably struggling with the speaking section in your PTE academic exam. Maybe your writing is really good, your reading and listening are not bad, but speaking is disproportionately low compared to everything else. And you may have done your research online and you probably figured out that it all comes down to your oral fluency. So how to improve oral fluency in PTE? This is an excellent question because a lot of people hear the word fluency and they actually don't really know what fluency is. Or nowadays, if you've given the exam since 2023, you don't actually even know that fluency is important. And here's the reason why. If you look at an old PTE result right here, you can see that at the bottom, it's got a lot of subsections, which are called enabling skills. And this is basically a breakdown of what are the areas that are good, what are the areas that are bad, right? For your writing, for your grammar, vocabulary, etc., etc. And two of the sections you see here are actually affecting your speaking directly. Number one is your oral fluency. Number two is your pronunciation, okay? Whereas if you look at one of the newer results, PTE is very sneaky. They have actually removed the enabling skills completely. And if you go on your result page, they will explain it verbally, like your comprehension and reading skill, your listening and speaking skill. The thing is, to a normal student like yourself, to a normal exam taker, when you look at this, it's like gibberish. What does that even mean? What questions should I practice more? Single skill comprehension, multiple skill comprehension. It doesn't mean anything. So I was actually very upset with PTE removing the enabling skills from the old results. Now, your question here is related to speaking specifically and oral fluency. So again, if you look at the old results, for example, here's some results I'm going to ask our team to share. And the results that they will share, it's people who got an exceptionally good score in their speaking. 85, 89, 90 out of 90. But if you look at their enabling skills, their pronunciation is only 35. Pronunciation 40, pronunciation 50, pronunciation 60. So how is it possible for somebody to get 90 out of 90 in speaking, even though the pronunciation is only 40? Well, the answer lies in oral fluency. And what is oral fluency? Well, let me take you in the back end. Let me tell you, what does PTE actually look for and what do they mean by oral fluency? You're not speaking to a human being. You're speaking to a computer. Now, the computer, fortunately, for now, doesn't understand you as well as a human being. Okay. Now, I know you might be thinking my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my husband, my wife, they don't understand me. Okay, it could be. But I mean, in the exam specifically, the computer doesn't logically understand what you're saying. So what does that mean? That means that you can get away with making mistakes. You can get away with repeating some nonsense. You can get away with broken grammatical sentences. In IELTS, you cannot do this. In IELTS, if you're speaking continuously, but you're making grammar mistakes, you're mispronouncing words, it's a big issue. In PTE, don't worry about your pronunciation so much. Your pronunciation is only important in one question specifically, and this is the read aloud. This is the first question in your exam. So oral fluency has to do with you speaking continuously nonstop without major pauses or hesitations. Now, a lot of people, they're used to the IELTS exam. So when they speak, they can speak in a casual tone, at a casual pace. They can take a little bit more time to think. Whereas here, if I put a crying baby in front of the microphone right now for 30 minutes in the speaking section, chances are the crying baby would probably get a higher fluency score than most people who don't even know what oral fluency is. The reason why, the baby is making a sound continuously. So when you look at the computer, imagine that when you speak, your voice is recorded and you have this waveform, right? You have the sound. When you speak, it's moving. When you pause, it stops. So if the baby's crying nonstop, pronunciation is 0, but fluency is 90 out of 90. Whereas if you're thinking there, getting stuck, trying to make logical sense, trying to make grammatical sense, trying to come up with fancy, coherent vocabulary and use it in a very academic way, you're going to pause a lot. You're going to think, you're going to hesitate, you're going to correct yourself. So number one tip to improve your oral fluency is to speak continuously without stop. And this is mostly in describe image and Reta lecture in the speaking section, but of course it also has to do with the other questions as well. So again, you might be thinking, okay, I think I'm speaking nonstop. I think I'm not hesitating. I think I'm not pausing. Well, one of the things as well, when it comes to punctuation, when it comes to commas and full stops, a lot of people, they take way too long of a pause at the full stops. And they read a full sentence, and then they start reading the next sentence, and then they read the third sentence. You have to shorten that breath. So I'm going to do this thing one more time, but look how I'm going to take the breath. I'm going to say one sentence, then I'm going to say another sentence, then I'm going to say another sentence. This is the speed at which you have to speak for many of the questions of speaking. So what you can practice is inhaling, and on the way out, you're already making a sound, right? So don't inhale, exhale, and then speak. Like, obviously don't do this. It sounds like a vacuum cleaner. You don't want to go, right? But I'm just showing you as an exaggerated version. I take a breath in, and on the way out, I'm already speaking. Breath in, on the way out, I'm already speaking. So if you measure the length of my pause, it's less than a second. But if you're emphasizing every comma, you're putting emphasis on every full stop, you want to speak in a very beautiful way with a proper intonation, proper emphasis, and you're going to pause at every single comma and full stop. This is not the recipe to be orally fluent. So as a general piece of advice, if the sentence is short to medium length, I don't care about any commas in that sentence, you should speak until the full stop without any pauses. Take a quick breath in and then keep speaking for the rest of the sentence. If the sentence is quite long, of course, then you can take an extra breath somewhere halfway through. Could be a comma, could be a semicolon, could be some kind of a conjunction or like a word and or also or something like that. But again, in read aloud especially, don't pause at every single comma, every single punctuation. Only at full stops. Take a quick breath and keep going. Take a quick breath and keep going. And I guarantee you this will skyrocket your fluency. Now, tip number 2. Again, if you're searching for how to improve your speaking, you're probably pausing too much in other questions as well. And most likely it's describe image and retell lecture. Now, for describe image and retell lecture, the best thing that you can do is have a template, have a format that you memorize, okay? Now, please don't go on YouTube and search PTE template, describe image template, retell lecture template, because lately there's been an issue with the AI from PTE that if you use a very common and frequently repeated template, oftentimes your score will go for manual review by a human examiner. So you don't want to do this. But what you can do is you can watch a couple of these videos. You can see how people use different templates. You can extract the important content and you can write it in your own words. So for example, let's say I'm doing describe image. Okay. Generally for describe image, there's some information that's very important and other information that's less important. What information is important? Well, number one, what kind of graph is it? Is it a table? Is it a map? Is it a bar graph? Is it a pie chart? And second thing is usually the heading or the title. It's usually going to be at the top. And the last thing is the units. Are they measuring things in years or percentages or kilos? And usually on top of that, you will have a lot of different numbers, a lot of other information. This is usually less relevant. So you could write yourself a very simple template, like the given image in front of me is a bar graph or is a pie chart. And it's providing a lot of useful information about the title. Percentage or population by region. The units given in this picture are kilograms. So once you found your own wording of how to express that, again, you can write it in very simple sentences. For the rest of the information, you don't need to cover all of that stuff in the picture. You just need to find 2 or 3 or 4 key points or numbers to mention. And at the end, always make sure to wrap up with in conclusion or towards the end or to conclude. So if you have those elements in your template, you can write it in your own way and keep it the same every single time. If they give you a map, do the same thing with the same structure. You're just going to replace the name of the graph, the title of the graph, the units, the colors, the numbers, right? And if you do this, it's going to be much easier because you're not thinking and talking. You're just repeating the same thing again and again and again, changing a few keywords. Repeating again and again and again, changing a few keywords. And it makes it very easy because you don't need to think. So it's not about properly explaining the graph logically, for example. It's just about being nonstop and including some of the key information from the picture in order to get content. And the same thing goes in retell lecture. Again, you can make your own template that the main topic of this lecture was about X. Firstly, the speaker talked about Y. In addition, he also mentioned Z. And to conclude, he also mentioned blah, 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 right? Again, probably needs to be a little bit longer. You probably need to elaborate and add some more of your own words. And you definitely need to get more content from the lecture. But if you remember the structure again and again and again, you don't really need to think much. And then you're going to be speaking nonstop and you're going to have a lot of confidence. So these are the main keys to improve your fluency. Now, as a bonus, this is very important because a lot of times people make a mistake. And I check students' mock tests every single day, and I'll listen to the mock tests. They're doing really well. They go, this image provides a lot of information about this, and it's also provided, and they say, shit, whatever, sometimes they swear in their own language. and then they just give up. They just stop completely. This is the worst thing that you can do. And I always tell my students, I don't care if you fumbled. I don't care if you swore. I don't care if you changed to your own language for a couple of seconds. Just keep making a noise. And I can also see that this is a map with yellow color and red color. And the next thing I can see in this picture is the year 1956, which is showing the green color. In addition, you see what I just did there? I kind of messed up. I kind of fumbled. But then I just started saying something else. I started reading some words from the picture until I could collect my thoughts and come back to my template. So make sure that anytime you hesitate, anytime you make a mistake, don't correct yourself. Don't go back, because you think you're only doing something good. In IELTS, if you correct your mistake, the examiner acknowledges it and they would give you better scores. Whereas here, if I start saying something and I go, oh, shit, and then I start to repeat again, I have 2-3 hesitations. I have some repetitions. This is only going to make your score worse. So you have to let it out of your mind. 1 or 2 mistakes will not fail you the exam in speaking. Make sure to fill the gap. Make sure to keep talking, recover, and then at the end, finish strong. And don't think about the mistake that you made 3 questions ago. Okay, this is not going to help you. Every single question in PT is marked individually. So if you did really poorly in 1 out of the 20 questions in speaking, but you did well in the others, that 1 question is not even going to matter. You can still get 90 out of 90 in speaking. So this is the best advice that I can give you how to improve the oral fluency without making this video any longer. I hope this was useful. Please make sure to like and subscribe to be the first one to get notified when we post new videos. And if you need any other resources, classes, mock tests, or practice questions, make sure to check the link in the description and the link in the comments. This is Alex for Dream English and Visa Consultancy. I will see you in the next video. Take care.